Today's episode is brought to you by the best store in the universe. Thousands of shirts, but not really. Shop now and support the show at maddoxrules.com. Welcome to the best debate in the universe. Every debate in the universe, from blockchains to runaway trains. With over 3 million downloads, I'm your host, Maddox. With me is the Deputy Cadet Moderator, Ron Babcock.
Hey.
And as always, the Sultan of Swag, Mikey Bolts.
Thank you, Maddox.
And our junior journalist, Taylor Nikolai. Welcome back to the show. Guys, big show today. Exciting show. And this is going to be one of the most interesting debates we've ever had. And we have an amazing guest this week. The debate this week is, what's the solution to the trolley problem? I'm going to explain a little bit about what that is later on in the show when we get to the debate. But first, he's an author of 3 books, a public speaker who's given 60 keynote addresses, has appeared in Forbes, New Scientist, and RT, and is the head of the blockchain for the Hyperloop. Please welcome to the show, Federico Pistono. Federico, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, you have such an amazing career, an amazing background. Your book is Robots Will Steal Your Job, but That's Okay.
Yeah.
Now, that's an interesting title. Why should people be okay with that?
Obviously, it's counterintuitive because people think, hey, if robots are going to take my job, that kind of sucks, especially if it's not just truck drivers, but it's accountants and lawyers and
everything was all right till these goddamn robots came into the country.
Yeah.
Started taking our jobs.
All our manufacturing jobs.
Yeah.
Took our jobs.
He's a good guy, though, robot.
So you think it's a good thing, though, that companies are modernizing and replacing the workforce with robots?
So on one side, this is an incentive for the market to automate as much as possible because you want to provide better services at a lower price. That's ephemeralization, Buckminster Fuller's. So
right.
The problem with that is, I think, societies work in paradigms, and paradigms usually go along with technology. So we invented agriculture that created certain behavioral organizations within a society that allowed, for example, for more complex organizations and for bigger cities. Essentially, modern medicine changed everything. So we used to make 5 or 10 children per family just because 1 or 2 may survive and then take care of you when you're old. That's kind of the plan.
The Oregon Trail.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you have a survival rate of 10%, you have to make 10 babies to have one that survives.
That's what I keep telling people. Don't make so many kids. And here's the thing. I found the ideal strategy to win at Oregon Trail. All right. I found out you can save a shit ton of money and spend that money on axle wheels and oxen if you just don't clothe your children.
Yeah.
Like, let them run naked. You don't need that money. Like, children don't understand anything.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, if you're interested in playing Oregon Trail, Target has released a nostalgia item where you can play the Oregon Trail for $25.
$25? How about I pay $0 and play it online for free? Because it's available for free everywhere.
Where?
Every website. Like, there's all sorts of educational websites like, oh, hey, you want to play the Oregon Trail? I'm like, fuck yeah, I do.
Yeah, don't you know the Oregon Trail Cafe down the street? It's awesome.
I don't know why we went to this tangent of the Oregon Trail.
Because we were talking about how you don't need that many kids to survive, and the carrying capacity of Earth and the carrying capacity of your wagon in Oregon Trail.
Why did we all play Oregon Trail?
Because it was a school mandate thing.
Yeah, it was a school
mandate. I
mandate.
remember playing in school, and the thing that sucked was I could never shoot anything. It was like impossible.
Was it supposed to teach logic, or like what was the...
It's supposed to teach you that life is hard and nothing is going to happen the way you thought it was.
I just realized that I thought you meant something else. That's why I was laughing. I have no idea what Oregon Trail is.
Oh, because of course there is no Oregon in Italy, so that's probably in Italy it would probably be called like the Pisa Trail or something, right? The Pisa, the you guys have the city Pisa.
Yeah,
I went to Pisa.
Okay.
I made a beeline to that the fucking the tower, the leaning tower.
Yeah,
did the boner thing and then just got out of there.
Okay,
I got some Mexican food at this place called El Gringo. And
did you like you go all the way to possibly the best place in the world for food together with Japan, and you get a shitty Mexican?
I always try. That's one of my favorite things when I travel is I have a rule of thumb: the further from Mexico you go, the worse the Mexican food. And Pisa was the worst Mexican food I've ever had.
No doubt.
So
why would you ever?
When you lie down and did the boner thing, did you lie in a way where the leaning tower looked like it was drooping, or the other way where the leaning tower looked like it was like kind of erect?
Like erect, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I got like a real stiff Cliffy. It was really cool. Everyone was impressed. All the other tourists were like, "Oh my gosh, look what he's doing! No one's ever done that.
No one's ever done that before." Yeah.
I always, if I go, I want to lay on my stomach and make it look like it's coming out of my butt.
Yeah, that's also never been done
See,
before.
that's
No one's ever
cool.
done-
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm
All
not.
right.
I'm not that impressed with humanity's ability to reproduce. I don't know. It's just okay. I get it.
You stuck your dick in
How about the
someone.
Yeah, you
ability
stuck
to
your dick in
curb
someone's. Yeah.
curb the growth? That's impressive.
That is impressive, but no one's come up with an ethical solution for that.
Well, they could just make it, you know how they give you like a tax write-off if you have kids, if you have dependents. If you start making it so that you actually get a tax break for not having kids.
That's what they do. That's what they do in China. So people in China, they're like, oh, you can only have one kid. I mean, it's a hard and fast rule, but if people do have multiple kids, they don't make you put them down. They just make it very expensive for you with disincentives and taxes and things like that. Yeah. So that's essentially what China's done to curb the population. Yeah. Anyway,
well, the biggest contributing factor for curbing the population historically has been to educating kids, especially girls who didn't have access to education. That's, as soon as they know that they're not just factories for babies and they're like, oh shit, I can do stuff, I can earn my own money, then they're like, yeah, fuck that, I'm not gonna have a baby when I'm 14.
Well, Federico, you're in luck because that's what this show is all about, is educating little girls. And so we should get to the
About their
debate.
sexual prowess.
Not that, but but we should get to the debate this week, which is, what is the solution to the trolley problem?
Wait, what is
essentially,
the trolley problem?
The classic trolley problem is that
let him-
there's a runaway trolley, right, barreling towards down a track, and in front of the track is 5 people who can't move. And then you have the option to switch tracks to another track where one person is tied to the track. So the question is, should you switch the track? Should you take out the 5 people or the 1, which is more ethical, or is there an ethical choice to make? That is the debate this week. What is the solution to the trolley problem? And there are many different variations of it, and we're going to talk about it. And it's very applicable to today's contemporary artificial intelligence and self-driving cars, because self-driving cars have to make this decision all the time.
Yeah.
Well, not all the time, but it is something that may come up with self-driving cars. So that's the debate this week. Before we begin the debate, though, now's your chance to vote on madcastmedia.com. If you want to leave us a voicemail, the voicemail number is on the website. Call in, leave us a voicemail. You'll have a chance of getting it played at the tail end of the episode. And we also have the news with our junior journalist, Taylor Nikolai. But first, let's hear everyone's buzzer. Here's mine. Federico. There it is. Ron. And Taylor. There it is. And there's... What are you doing, Mikey?
I just wanted to have one.
Okay. And Mikey Bolts. There it is. Everyone's buzzer. If you guys hear a buzzer during this debate, that means somebody is chiming in to disagree with someone else, point out a logical fallacy or a factual correction, or they just want to interject. But Federico, as our guest this week, what do you think the solution is to the trolley problem? Should you take out the 1 or the 5 or neither?
I think you can approach it logically, and then, the solution is easy.
Yeah. Well, what do you mean logically?
Well, logically is if you consider all right, because there's so many angles to it. If you consider every human being invaluable, and priceless, then there is no solution. Because infinity, if you multiply it by 5, is still infinity.
Right.
Right.
Okay, good point.
But if you say, hey, no, 5 lives or 500 or 5 million lives are more important than 1, then you pull the lever. The thing is, if the 1 is your child, would you pull the lever? And then like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So the issue is we should take away, I think, the human factor in those decisions and try, well, first of all, there should always be a third option where you don't kill anyone. But sometimes there isn't. And the trolley problem isn't a very good one because, like, why is this guy tied to the fucking tracks?
Yeah,
like,
what's
you
he
just
doing?
pull him out.
A villain put him there.
Yeah. So,
He did some bad shit.
so with self-driving cars, it's much more real because it's actually happening now.
Let's talk about self-driving cars
Yeah.
because this is a real situation. I think there was a scenario where a programmer had to decide what the car was supposed to do in the scenario that you're going down a very tight 2-lane highway on a cliffside, right? And if there is a group of protesters in front of you and the brakes don't function, this is a very real scenario. If the brakes malfunction in this car, it can't stop. It has a choice to make. Does the car go off the side of the cliff and kill the driver to preserve the lives of the protesters or the pedestrians? Let's just say they're not even protesters. They're just pedestrians who don't see you coming, who can't move for whatever reason. Do you program the car to take the driver's life, or do you have the car barrel through the pedestrians? What do you think?
Right. I mean, as a society, I think we would agree that killing fewer people is better than, killing more people. But the car manufacturers and the insurance companies have already made it clear that they preserve the life of the driver, otherwise they won't be selling cars. So unless they're compelled to by the law, that's what they do.
Yeah, because now car manufacturers have kind of put their thumb on the scale and said, no, we're going to make sure the car always protects the drivers, because nobody wants to buy a car if they think that the car might kill them in a push-come-to-shove decision.
Whoa, I never even thought of that. So, competing car companies might say, our car's not going to kill you. Their car will.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Or they'll say, our car will preserve the most life.
Whoa.
So now we're getting into some really dicey territory with this technology. Now, here's what I think. And I think that there may be a solution to the trolley problem, and here's what it is, and no one's going to like it.
Get my buzzer
Eventually.
ready.
What's that, Mikey?
Get my buzzer ready.
Your buzzer ready. That's fine. Because you know what that buzzer signifies?
What's that?
Is you guys are lesser minds. If you disagree with this
Obviously.
brilliant assertion. Now, here's where technology is headed, right? China already has CCTV cameras. If you guys don't know what that is, CC is closed circuit television. It's basically monitoring, surveillance cameras everywhere. And they have a large network where they're able to, in real time, scan and recognize people's faces. We already see that technology every day on Facebook, where you post a photo and it asks you to tag your friends. It knows your friends are in this picture with artificial intelligence, right? We're probably not too far off from a future where cars, in real time, can scan the person you're about to hit, make a quick judgment and analysis on that person's value to society. Like if they have any criminal records, if they are maybe a heart surgeon or a rocket scientist or a politician or somebody that society has deemed
Well, China is
important.
doing this already. It's called Sesame Credits.
Sesame credits. They're actually doing this.
Yeah, so they're doing this exactly. They've been doing it for about 7 years now.
Okay.
It's in a pilot program of 100 million people.
Okay, that's amazing. So it's already, this technology's there. I'm just saying that they're
And
going
not specifically for cars. So what they're doing is they're tracking everybody. It's essentially Black Mirror season 3 episode 2.
I thought this sounded familiar.
So they give you a credit based on how good of a citizen you are.
Yeah.
And how good of a citizen is if you recycle, if you pay your taxes, but also if you don't say anything against the government, or if you don't write controversial articles or have podcasts where you swear.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. But so this so this is
Fuck, I just lost a Sesame credit.
Yeah, this is technology. This made headlines recently. I think I saw an article on the BBC where China employed this technology to give someone a ticket for jaywalking. Mm-hmm. They recognized her because that's really hard to track down if there's not an active police officer there to write that citation. But they found her and they sent a ticket to her house because they recognized her with this artificial intelligence system. Yeah. Now, I'm saying that in cars, they may employ this in the future because the question is, who are you going to hit, right? What if the people in front of you you're going to hit are a bunch of Nazis? All right, no, not too many people would lose sleep over taking out bad people. But if the car has to make that decision...
Except their families, maybe.
Except their what do you mean?
Yeah, if you kill like 10 people, even if they were like bad according to you, maybe they weren't so bad according to their kids and their wives and,
Well, that's a good point. So these are really heavy ethical decisions that car manufacturers, cars, and programmers have to make.
I thought autonomous, self-driving cars was supposed to decrease deaths.
Yes.
By a lot.
Yes.
Okay. So even if we have these ethical problems, where we're really just kind of zeroing on this, on the grand scale, wouldn't we be saving a shit ton of lives just by having
about 2 million people a year?
Yeah, okay.
That's how many.
So we
got to
kill some Nazis once in a while. I'm fine with that.
No, but the thing is, you can never get to zero. Whatever system you have, let's say airplanes, right? Airplane fatalities have gone down to practically zero, but sometimes someone just dies. Now, in an airplane, you don't get to choose who lives and who dies. Kind of everyone dies. If there's a plane crash and one survivor, it's like a miracle. But if you could selectively choose who survives, that's an ethical problem. Even though you are getting to the point where almost no one dies, at some point someone does. And you might want to say, well, we should leave it to chance. Have a true number generator that decides whether it's going to go straight or go left or whatever.
Always keep everybody guessing. Kind of that. Keep everyone on their toes.
Okay, wait a second. I think that might be a solution to the trolley problem. If you have So if you have the car,
Who's it gonna be this time?
yeah, it could be just pure
I mean,
chance.
it's fair. It's chance, right? On the other hand, it's like, okay, if you want to preserve human life, or if you want to preserve the human driver, or if you want to preserve the, corporate powers or the state power or whatever, that is always very slippery territory. Very slippery, because as soon as let's say you're going from New York to California, to Los Angeles, right?
Right.
You're traveling, and you may end up having 12 different legislations in each state, where in one, it's random. In one, you get killed. In one, you kill. And in another one, you don't know. Just going across the country.
Well, we're not united whatsoever, right? Is that what you're saying? Like, what are you?
No, what I'm saying is that it's very messy, and there isn't a clear-cut solution, especially when you have competing interests and powers. And that's why, sometimes randomness can be fair. Now, there is a question whether true randomness exists because of quantum mechanics, but...
That is a question. Yeah, that is an interesting question. When you get into deeper into computer programming and you start to learn how random functions work, how the backbone of the computer industry basically creates randomized numbers, which is a very, very important thing for computers to be able to do.
Yeah.
For any number of things, to seed, to seed graphics and seed algorithms and seed all sorts of different things. These random generators are basically, you can kind of reverse engineer a lot of them.
Yeah, so one interesting thing is you can use biological systems to create a pseudo random number generators for aleatory functions. So for example, a few years ago, what is the name of that service to cache Cloudflare? They had 500 lava lamps with high resolution cameras, and they were looking at these lava lamps and how they were creating the bubbles, which is completely random and unpredictable. And based on that, they were feeding into a function to create essentially, RSA, DSA, kind of public-private keys for their servers and their clients.
Yeah, it's very difficult. This is a very non-trivial, difficult problem to create a random number, truly random number. You can't there are very few things in life that are actually random. I don't know if anything is really random. I would make the argument that most things are not random.
No, they're not.
Even I think our understanding of atomic motion, which used to be called Brownian motion, right? They kind of backed away from that.
You can. I mean, there is never 100% certainty, but quantum mechanics, which is the study of how things behave at the submolecular scale, actually it's subatomic scale,
right?
So smaller than single particles, or let's say how an electron moves. Those things, even though you can't predict with 100% certainty, they are by far the best estimate of any science we've ever had. It's up to the 11 decimal places, so it's 99.99999999999% correct.
Right.
The prediction that you can make, which is fucking insane. It's like shooting a dart here and then landing it, on Mount Everest on a specific leaf of a specific tree.
In a ladybug's pee hole. That's how accurate it is.
That is very accurate.
Yeah. And ladybugs do have pee holes.
Yeah, that was the thing I was found most impressive, actually.
About ladybugs?
And I was like, they got pee holes?
Everything's got a pee. Even ladybugs. There are male ladybugs, and they fucking get pissed when
actually,
you call them ladybugs.
Everyone has to poop. I'm not sure everyone has to pee. Everything has to poop, so excretion is in every atom.
We're really getting into it.
Can we just start, instead of saying I gotta go take a shit, I gotta go excrete? Excuse me.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to start using the word excrete.
If you want to be fancy, just go with the Latin words. If you want to be like sloppy or
sorry guys,
then
I
you go for the Germanic.
Yeah, Taylor's fancy.
Yeah.
So I have a question. So if nothing can theoretically be random, does that therefore mean that there is some sort of plan behind things?
No, I didn't say that nothing can be random. I said that most things are predictable to a high level of accuracy.
I've been called random by enough girls at bars that I disagree.
Random Ron Babcock. That's what they call him.
I remember hitting on girls at bars and them saying to me, "Oh my God, you are so random," and then walking away. So I don't know if I buy
girls
your
also
whole...
say, I literally died yesterday. I'm like, really?
Oh man,
how the fuck are you here telling the story?
There's this one girl in Highland Park. I was waiting across the street, and she was right behind my girlfriend and I just heard her talk to her friend. Go, actually, literally. Like totally? I think I love him. She like covered
There was also a like and I mean in between.
Yeah, it just covered the bases. Actually, totally, literally.
I
was
can't.
like,
I mean,
wow.
I can't even. That's
Is that
a
what
deal
the
breaker.
autonomous driving cars are gonna do? Oh, I can't even.
Yeah, the car's just going to throw its hands up in the air and say, "I can't even," and then it's just
Why
going to
don't-
plow a family of pedestrians.
I understand we have all these like theoretical like back and forths, but like why don't we just actually work on the physical design of the cars? Like, you know, Snuggies?
Yes.
Like, why are we making this shit out of metal? We can make it out of whatever we want. If all these cars are going to go on the road, we
Yeah.
got to decide
Yeah.
what goes into them.
Yeah.
Fucking let's make this shit soft.
Okay.
So, okay, yeah, we might kill a couple people, but we can decrease those numbers if we make shit soft. Something's got to go on the
I
outside
had
of
this
the
idea
car.
of having a big bumper around the car, so when you hit something, you just do like a pinball.
Yeah, I mean, they might hurt their leg, but there is a point where, okay, we got to make a decision, but we can also make a decision to make this
Yeah,
shit
I'm sure
soft.
no one has ever thought of that, and
Yeah,
no one has ever tried.
Because
I mean, they're
bumper
obviously not
cars.
trying that hard. They're making this stuff out of hard metal.
Yeah, because this isn't Nickelodeon, and we're not.
We got these. Look at these things on the wall right now.
These pads.
cushiony.
Yeah.
They're covering this room.
So let's review like the
I
mechanics.
like how this is a crazy idea. Let's
Let's-
make cars
no, let's-
soft.
let's-
Oh, we can never do that, but we can make them drive by themselves across the country.
So let's
Who
review
dinged?
the
Who
mechanics of going, 120 kilometers an hour, or for, barbarian units, 80 miles an hour?
Sure.
Down somewhere with something that weighs maybe a ton or half a ton.
Uh-huh.
Do you think
Again,
that...
soft stuff is
Yes.
a lot less weight
Sure.
than metal. So
Sure.
you're going to drop that half ton to like, what, a couple hundred pounds?
Sure.
It can
I
be
think
200.
the amount of foam you would have to put is probably like 50 meters of foam.
But listen, we're having advancements on autonomous driving technology.
Sure.
You don't know the kind of advancements we're going to have in the world of foam. Now you have big foam out there currently researching things like flubber. And there was a documentary made about that.
Okay, I'm getting just.
Okay, I think that this is gone too far.
I don't think it's gone far enough. That's my point.
No, but the interesting thing is that you can actually create metamaterials with different techniques and nanotechnology, especially to have a single shell that protects the driver. And then this thing kind of shoots like a bullet anywhere. So the rest of the car can get destroyed, but this thing remains intact.
Okay,
That's
so
kind of like what
if
Tesla
on the
did.
front of the car we have like an actual giant baseball glove? And like it'll catch the family of five and like scoop them up, and then it'll squeeze
I should
them.
call up Elon and say, hey, I got the solution for you.
Got the solution.
I got the
Dude.
solution.
Your car's
Don't
going
even
goofy
bother.
as shit.
Give me the number. I'll hit him up
Giant-
myself.
Giant
Do you
fucking-
work with Elon Musk himself?
No, I don't work
Okay.
with Elon Musk.
Now,
Have you ever met him? Would he know your name?
No, I don't think he would know my name. But we have a lot of common friends, and I think we will
If
meet
he
at
saw
some
you on
point.
the street, like, would he be like, "Oh, hey"? Like,
Probably
would he give
not.
you a nod?
Probably not.
Okay.
Does
But,
he have his own clone?
Which
These
one?
are good questions. These are really important questions.
Which one?
Elon's.
No. Which clone? Because the different
No,
occasions.
cologne,
different-
not cologne.
Oh, cologne.
Oh, I thought you said
Yeah.
clone.
No,
We
I'm
know
sure
he
has
has a
many.
clone.
Yeah, we all know he has his own clone. Come on.
There's a
That guy's got
5-year-old, a
clones.
12-year-old.
Yeah, it's called Scent of Musk,
Scent of.
Oh, hey, there it
There
is.
you go.
Very good.
and it's not even my native language.
I know. That's killing it. So I want to talk a little bit more about this trolley problem. Let's not get too far off from this because there are very many variations of this. There is... So the original one, I think, was the Switch. That was the one from pitch in 1967. Then there's the Fat Man. Okay, this
Yeah,
is...
that's the stupidest one ever.
Well, no, because I got one that's really stupid. You
the
may
Fat
want
Man?
to the Fat Man one. Okay, so you have the trolley heading towards somebody who's tied on the track. You don't have enough time to get to the person who's tied on the track, but you do know that the trolley can be stopped by a heavy object. There's a very fat man standing right next to you.
Very fat.
Very fat.
Do we know how fat?
Very
Yeah,
fat.
like morbidly obese.
Yeah. And you have the ability to push him onto the track to stop the trolley. Do you do that?
Oh, wow.
Now,
Yeah.
immediately, if you're not a philosophy student, you start to think of the mechanics of this object falling, and if actually this thing would stop the fucking trolley.
Well, let's
So-
say it does, for the
Take
sake
off
of
into
argument.
space.
For the sake of argument, it does stop the trolley.
Yeah.
Do you do that? Then there's another
I mean,
variant
maybe
of that.
he's so fat that his body just accepts the trolley.
Like a glove?
If you
Yeah.
give him a glove, then he would
Yeah.
stop the trolley.
Yeah.
He just puts his mouth in front of it and he eats it because he thinks it's a flying hot dog.
And we're Nickelodeon again.
So then there is the fat villain. This is a variant of that. So you know that the person who's fat is also a villain. So it takes out the ethical quandary of, are you killing an innocent person?
Well, the question is, does he have a white cat that he's petting? Because the cat is really innocent. So
the cat is also a villain.
Oh, he's also a villain.
So it's a fat villain with a fat villain cat.
Okay.
So do you push that? And then there's another version of it where there's so many stupid ones. There's The Man in the Yard. This one was pitched in 1992. And it's just a bunch of dipshits, I think, at this point, who just want to glom onto this philosophical argument or a philosophical quandary. So this one is, okay, so get this, all right? There are two trolleys barreling towards each other, potentially, and one is going to hit a group of people, but you can switch the track so the trolleys hit each other. However, the trolleys are going to roll down the hill and kill a man resting in his hammock. Like, okay. And these are real ones that people pitch.
They're essentially created to sell philosophy books for new generations.
I think so. Yeah. But by far the dumbest one I found is called The Transplant. And I'm just going to read this to you because I don't even fully understand it, but it says, a brilliant transplant surgeon has 5 patients, each in need of a different organ, each of whom will die without that organ. Unfortunately, there are no organs available to perform any of these 5 transplant operations.
Fucking A.
A healthy young traveler just passing through the city the doctor works in.
A healthy young traveler, full of organs.
Full of organs, yeah. Comes in for a routine checkup. In the course of doing the checkup, the doctor discovers that his organs are compatible with all 5 of his dying patients. Suppose further that if the young man were to disappear, no one would suspect the doctor. Do you support the morality of the doctor to kill that tourist to provide his healthy organs to those 5 dying persons and save their lives? What do you guys think of that one?
I think we already have laws for that.
Yeah, well, but this is... We're talking, we're not talking about what's illegal or legal. We're just talking about what's ethical. Does he have...
But those laws exist for a reason.
But one of those patients is Hitler.
Now,
you see, you can do whatever with these.
Yeah.
And
but the thing is, you can create anything, like you're saying, but at the end of the day, let's say for 50 years, 40 years, whatever, there was no advancement whatsoever in the trolley problem in terms of possible solution. And then in 5 years, when we're actually confronted with a real life scenario, we are addressing this faster than we ever did before.
Yeah, because then nobody has the incentive to be healthy because you're just going to be killed by some doctor for your organs.
You don't know that. This is a special scenario. This is a special case. And by the way, so the reason that people have considered the same problem with, is he a villain? Is he fat? Is he whatever? Is because people want to feel good about the decisions they make. If it's going to result in, something that's a loss of life or cause injury to another person. They want to feel good about their decisions. So they want to justify their actions in their mind. They want to build a narrative that says, okay, well, this person was bad, so that it's not the end of the world if they do something against somebody that they find morally duplicitous. I think that's why people are okay with the fat villain or pushing a villain or doing something.
Isn't this what the U.S. and almost every imperialist power is doing to justify their own wars?
Basically. So you have to vilify whoever you're attacking.
Yeah.
You have to make them the enemy, right?
Remember we did Manifest Destiny? Where we're like, God has chosen us.
Yeah.
So we can take over whatever land we want because we're God's chosen people.
Right.
It's a ballsy doctrine to have.
Yeah. That's essentially what humanity has done time and time again, is they try to vilify. I mean, that's what happened in World War II. The precursor to the Crystal Night, where the German soldiers went through the town and started bashing all the...
Oh, yeah, Night of Broken Glass.
Yeah, the Night of Broken Glass. They broke all the windows and things for the Jewish business owners because they justified it by saying, we are suffering because of them. Mm-hmm. Our suffering is at their hands. They're the ones who are putting their thumb on the scale and preventing us from having monetary freedom. They have all the money, et cetera, and they just kept vilifying and vilifying and vilifying.
And then it went all downhill from there because they said, okay, these are not just hurting us economically and financially. These are not even people. These are subhumans.
Right.
These are homunculi. These are, blatters and kind of like... so that narrative was what allowed otherwise good people to buy into this mass genocide without having too many moral issues. And it was done like step by step, there is a great book, it's called The Banality of Evil. It kind of shows you how, a baker can become a Nazi over a 5-year period. It's just, one step after the other, and then someone may become a capo. And this kind of narrative, existed for millennia for sure, but it was very prevalent up until the Middle Ages that these weren't really people. Like it was an accepted kind of established fact. There wasn't science at the time, but it was a fact that these weren't really people. And there was a priest, Fra Bartolomeo de las Casas, who actually wrote a book.
He's cool.
Yeah. Who wrote a book kind of thinking that maybe these weren't people. They were just different kinds of people. They weren't not people. They were just different kinds of people. Right? Even though they have different skin and so on. And this was completely revolutionary thought, 600 years ago.
So that was kind of like he was a progressive of their times.
Well, absolutely.
He's like, oh, they're people, but they're just a little different. I mean, that's essentially. I mean, he's not too far off. Everybody's a person, just a little bit different, right?
Just a little bit different, and the differences between groups. That's why I find identity politics so stupid, because the difference between a specific group that you might identify as an ethnicity, so the variance within the group genetically is greater than the variance between groups.
That's interesting. So the genetic variance between
you take 10 black people,
right,
or 1,000 black people, you may have the difference in genetic makeup between 2 black people, which is greater than between you and a black guy.
That's interesting, because the skin color is not that much.
It's I think 4 or 10 genes. It's a pigment. It's simple switch on and off of one gene, and we have billions of genes.
That's so fascinating, because the thing that we observe as being hugely different are superficial on a genetic level.
Very superficial.
That's very interesting. So if all these like fucking alt-right dipshits would take a step back and actually try to look at the genetic, I guess, disparities objectively, and say that, okay, between I guess a black and a white person could have more in common genetically than two individual black people, even though they have
or two white people,
or 2 white people. That's right.
We got to figure out a way to turn that shit on and off so we could change color real quick.
That'd be cool.
It can be possible, actually. So, I mean,
we just needed to get enough Sesame credits.
You have about 100 trillion cells in your body. So it would take time, but you can, right now with some genetic engineering, there is, RNA interference, you can do gene editing, epigenetic interference. You can actually induce epigenetic changes. Epigenetic means changes in your genetic makeup after you're born.
Federico,
so while you're alive.
Everyone at this table and everyone listening to this podcast knows what epigenetics means.
Right, so, obviously.
This isn't our first time to the epigenetic rodeo. Obviously.
So...
you know me. In high school, I was president of my epigenetics club.
Random Ron over here.
Yeah, Random Ron Epigenetics Babcock.
Yeah.
It's an awful nickname.
But in the future,
real
not
quick,
so far
what
off.
does epigenetics mean again? Sorry, I wasn't listening.
So epi,
too busy being an asshole.
Epi in Greek, I think it means on top, right? So on top of genetics. So it's something that happens after your, so you have a genetic makeup, but
so on top of
right. So what happens is you have a bunch of genes, but they need to be expressed. So if a gene is expressed, for example, it produces certain protein, and that protein does stuff in your body. Proteins do most of the work. They're like machines that do a bunch of things for us in our body. You can turn on and off certain genes. And this happens in ways that we haven't understood up until very recently, and now we're beginning to understand how these things happen. So, for example, there are certain diseases that you only start to develop when you're like 50 or 60 or 70. Well, that's because certain genes get turned on at a certain stage of your life because of environmental conditions.
So, like
of
Alzheimer's,
other things.
Certain genes get turned on.
Actually, Alzheimer's might be a bacterial infection. We might be able to treat Alzheimer's with antibiotics one day.
I was wondering though, epigenetics, correct?
Yeah.
How many fat guys are going to be saved from a train thanks to epigenetics?
If you can reduce the number to 0, then no fat man will be pushed down the trolley.
Okay.
So, but back to the trolley question though. Trolley, back to the whole trolley solution.
Yeah, back to the city where trolley infrastructure is just very out of control.
Yeah.
So you have, but I mean, we're talking about self-driving cars. This is a real problem that programmers are having to deal with, and car manufacturers are having to deal with this. They have to have a number of considerations. Do we sell a car? Is somebody going to buy a car? Let's go around the table and see who would buy a car that would potentially kill them by decision. Would you, Ron?
I mean, that is such yeah, I am like, no, I'm not going to buy a car that's going
What
to
about
kill
now?
me.
Cars can fucking kill you. In fact, if you are between 18 and 35, they're the number one reason for death. So, are you buying a car now?
Well, no one's advertising it like that to Ron either, so that's not fair.
Okay,
either.
what about you, Mikey? Would you buy a car like this?
100%.
Okay,
Because
Mikey's-
everything that the
Mikey's a
guy
bro.
told me was all the greatest things about the car, and I learned that quick. But I'm also knowing that I could drive this thing like a fucking maniac, fly off a cliff, kill someone. But the difference is that these big companies know that they can make it safer, but in order to do that, what am I trying to say? Like it's never going to be zero. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
You're never going to not kill someone in that crazy scenario. The only thing you can do is get better with the advancement in technology to can kill the least amount of people.
And what about you, Taylor? Would you buy this car?
So the question is, would I buy a self-driving car?
Would you buy a self-driving car if you knew that there was a chance that this car would kill you in a scenario where you're going down a 2-lane road next to a cliffside and you have no choice? The car can either veer to the left or veer to the right. Either you're going to get slammed into a wall or go off a cliff.
So the question is, like, would you buy a car if, knowing that if there was a people of protesters and it would it went by numbers that you might be the one
Just
who gets
bystanders.
burned?
Right, just bystanders. Yeah.
I mean, so I've said this on the podcast before. Yes, and not only yes, I think legislation for self-driving cars is one of the most important items to legislate in this era. I think self-driving cars are going to be the fastest way we save the most amount of lives in this entire generation.
Okay, but, you have a lot of car lobbies and you have people who are trying to legislate to make sure. I mean, what if the legislation comes across and it's going to be in favor of the manufacturers who are just trying to sell
it's
cars?
all about fairness in the end, right? So if you have, because they've done a lot of experiments on this, if you have a sense of fairness, you're willing to accept things that you might not accept if the conditions were different. So, for example, if I have 10 cookies, okay, and then I say, okay, we are, there is 5 of us, we're going to get 2 cookies each, and you're like, yeah, that's fair. But then you find out that there is a whole store of cookies somewhere, and there's like 2 people eating all the fucking cookies, and you're like, that's not fair.
Yeah.
But you didn't, until you knew that, you were like happy with your 2 cookies. So
what's the definition of fair?
Hundreds of experiments like this, and the thing is, if the legislation required all car manufacturers who produced self-driving cars to act in a certain way, you would buy just because you have no other option, and because it's fair to everyone, right?
Right.
Because it's the same for everyone. But if 2 cars, if they have the freedom, and you can choose between a car that, in the unlikely event, is going to kill you or is going to save you, I guess most people would go for the latter, not for the former.
But back to the debate. What were you going to say, Mikey?
I was just gonna say my argument was more about if would I drive a car if I could die, but if I've thought about this a self-driving car situation. That's scary. That's scary if I don't know, not knowing that.
But also, I think we have to realize that just us having these self-driving cars are going to make society as a whole safer. And I'm not saying that this isn't a problem, but we get obsessed with these details when it's like, no, the real dangerous thing is you driving your own car.
Yeah.
Because we all do it like late at night, we're too tired or whatever.
Exactly.
Or there's been times where we shouldn't have been driving a car. So the ball is headed in the right direction.
Right,
Let's just take.
I mean, you
be
can
thankful
actually
for that.
calculate how far the adoption of self-driving cars is being pushed because of this debate, as opposed to the number of people who are being saved. So you can calculate, for example, 1 every 100 million people or whatever, 1 million people that are, crossing the road. Let's say 100 million will get killed, okay? Now you say, let's say that, this debate pushes legislation, kind of delays the whole thing by 2 years. You say, in 2 years, we might have saved 240,000 people. And, they might have been only 4 or 10 deaths if there were self-driving cars. So essentially you're saying, because you're wasting time in this debate, you're killing 36,996 people. Are you willing to do that as a society?
Yeah, Ron.
That's perspective. It's just about perspective.
What I'm interested in is so we do get self-driving cars. Well, it's not going to happen all at once. So there's going to be so many dipshits on the road who's finally going to see one of these things and they're like, fucking get close to it. Fucking shut up. And they're going to turn in front of it real quick to make it stop. And then they're going to keep driving. I'm going to fuck with it. In parking lots and stuff like that, everyone's if you're in a self-driving car, people are going to box you in and you're like, come on, man, move your car. I need to go.
Einstein said there is only 2 things that are infinite, the universe and human stupidity. And I'm not sure about the first.
I think it's going to be like cigarettes, where like it's just going to be fewer and fewer people are going to be driving their own cars because everyone's going to know how unhealthy it is.
Unhealthy to not have one?
No, to drive your own car. He's saying that
It will
that would
be
be
illegal
unhealthy.
very soon.
Yeah.
Driving a car will be
I don't know,
illegal.
very soon?
Yeah, very soon. Very
Like, what's
soon,
your
I mean,
definition of very soon?
less than 15 years.
Yes,
will be,
that was
yeah.
exactly what I was going to
There's
say.
going to be an alternate for people who can't afford to. I feel like,
Or maybe will there,
Wait, who
be,
can't
will there be
afford to
car
what?
ownership?
to buy a car and be a part of this new society. But
No,
if they're
it's going to be cheaper, 10 times cheaper than owning a
10
car.
times
I think
cheaper.
only
10
the
times cheaper than
ultra
owning a
rich
car,
are going to
obviously.
own cars. It's going to be more like a subscription model where you're just going to call a car,
Exactly.
and they're going to constantly be going.
So 90% of the cost of the car is the driver and the maintenance. All of those things can be cut down to practically zero with self-driving cars. So you could go from this side of I just paid $25 with Lyft to get here. I could have, if it was a self-driving car, I could have paid $2.
Yeah.
And plus, when they're
okay.
going to be made out of like velvet pillows, it's going to be cushy as hell.
Well, guys, just to wrap up this debate, because we are running out of time, one last time around the table, is there a solution to the trolley problem?
There is a solution as long as people can find agreement on something. And,
Okay.
That's
Well, that's the
age-long debate.
What
That's
a noble
the-
answer.
That's the debate on the website. And I think that just evidence that there is no solution, I'm going to argue the other side that there is no solution. Evidence of that is that we've debated so much about this.
My statement is going to be someone's going to die.
Basically,
Yeah.
it sounds like sometimes it's unavoidable. But that is the debate, guys. Vote on madcastmedia.com. Don't forget to vote on this. I want to see what you guys think before and after listening to this debate. But we should move on to last week's debate. I've got a recap of last week's debate. Last week, Federico, we debated whether or not you should delete Facebook. And I put the vote to the audience, and with 73%, yes, correct. That's right. Delete your fucking Facebook profile. And I
Are
argued,
they going to do it?
How many of those actually did it?
Yeah.
you know what though?
Self-righteous assholes.
No, a lot of people are doing it. I'm noticing on my
Deleting or deactivating?
deactivating because it's
Yes, all the
Deactivating's
data,
bullshit. They're
all the
coming
data
back.
is still there. And I'm not sure that if you delete your account, the data gets deleted after 2 weeks or whatever they say. I
Yeah.
don't believe that for a second.
Yeah.
They found that even tracking data of your movements on Google, I think, that was even the stuff that you type but you don't hit search.
Right.
As you type, every keystroke is recorded.
Even when I search in
Forever.
incognito mode?
Absolutely.
Oh, shit.
Incognito.
That's where all
It
the
just
real
means that
stuff
it
goes.
doesn't store on your own device. It doesn't say anything about remote device.
But you know what? At least we're all scared of
So
that.
if you want to be
we're
private,
on the same boat.
if you want to do privacy, you have to download the Onion, the Onion
like a
network, so
a
Tor,
Yeah.
and then you run on DuckDuckGo. That's pretty much the way to do it.
So I was on Google Docs, real quick. I was on Google Docs, and it offered some try words free. It's something to help enhance your words, but you had to agree to do something on it. It said if you want to use this company that Google's using in order to enhance your words or whatever, will have access to and can distribute anything that, like, it'll have access to your document.
Right.
That's why I've had an issue with Google Docs for a while, and I can't.
Yeah.
I was talking to you about that. I'm like, where do I put them at your Google Docs? And I'm like, I can't get into it because, especially after that, it's just like the terms and conditions of who would have access to that information, what they're going to do with it, and it's even worse now.
There's a high cost for free services like that.
Yeah, but the blockchain can solve all of that. It can solve the tragedy of the commons and the centralization of power and distribution of information.
Interesting solutions coming down the pipe, I guess. Coming down
the Hyperloop?
Hyperloop.
Yeah.
The hyperpipe.
The hyperpipe.
Why didn't you guys call it the hyperpipe? That's fun.
Yeah, very fun. It has a sex appeal.
Pipe
Yeah.
it up!
Yeah. You guys want the regular pipe or you want the hyperpipe?
I'll have a Hyperpipe.
I want the long pipe.
Yeah, the piping hot hyperpipe. Also, we should talk about the other part of the debate last week. So, Federico, I went to breakfast with some friends, and I got a very delightful
Jesus H.
Fiesta scramble, a Fiesta omelet scramble. And it came with a fruit cup and a little thing of cottage cheese. And so a bunch of the bozos on the show last week were attacking me for making a bad purchasing choice. So I asked the audience.
You led with cottage cheese.
I mentioned I got a cup of cottage cheese.
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever heard Fiesta Scramble. All I heard was cottage cheese.
Fiesta Scramble.
I went out for breakfast with a friend, and boy, can't wait to try their cottage cheese.
Should have recorded the conversation and put it on the blockchain, and then you would know if it was true.
If only we had this conversation recorded somewhere.
What did the people say?
Yeah, well, I asked the audience, is a Fiesta Scramble with a fruit cup worth making? And with 75% of the votes, no. Yeah,
Zing.
that means that it's worth purchasing. That's what I'm going to infer from that.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
All right.
Yeah, Fiesta Scramble is very delightful. So we got some voicemails about this. Here's one. The first caller is from the Bad Hombre, because these guys were giving me shit for getting a cup of cottage cheese, because it's good to eat with your fruit if you get a fruit cup. And these guys are just busting my balls. No respect.
It was the units of measurement, I think. I think it was the amount you had. I want to say you said you had a cup of it.
A cup of fruit.
But, no.
And a cup of cottage cheese.
You had a cup of cottage cheese.
A cup of cottage cheese.
I've only heard people say cottage cheese. So when you said a cup of it, I was like, what?
What, do you get a spoon of it? You don't know how much cottage cheese, you get a scoop of it? It's disgusting.
Maybe you get the spoon that's too big, like in the Don Hertzfeldt's movie.
No, it's not like Don Hertzfeldt's movie. It's a normal spoon. So anyway, Bad Hombre called in, defending me. Listen to this.
Did you have a banana too?
No, I didn't. It didn't have banana in it. Banana's a shitty fruit to have in a fruit cup.
He's gonna live in a cottage of cheese one day.
Please. Well, here's the Bad Hombre. Listen to this.
What up, cabrones? Hey, why you motherfuckers hating on cottage cheese, man? You motherfuckers ever been broke as a motherfucker and eating some cottage cheese for dinner? Fuck, man. When you pour that shit over a tostada with some salt and lime, man, that's a delicious dinner if you ask me. Fucking haters.
Hey, give this guy a fucking show.
Yeah,
dude.
We love the Bad Hombre.
You know
yeah,
what? I agree with him, but I still disagree with you.
How's that possible?
I don't know. The way he says it is cool.
You see context.
Yeah. Well, we got another call. So last week I talked about I hit on a clown one time. Okay, I didn't know she was a clown. It happened online, and then I found out she was a clown. So whatever. I treat clowns the same.
A girl who played a clown professionally?
Yeah, she was a clown. Hot as shit. So anyway.
I'm a clown. I'm hot as shit.
She's
Here's
a
my
hot
business card.
Yeah, she's a hot clown. So here's a voicemail about that. Listen to this.
Hey, Lord Maddox, is me. So you were interested in a clown. Did she have a nice set of honkers? I hope there wasn't any funny business. And does she make her own shoes? I'm sure it's no small feat. I hate myself. Fuck whales.
Oh, gosh. Boo. Terrible.
No.
Terrible.
Should have started with that
wait,
one.
it was that joke was terrible.
Oh gosh. All right, terrible jokes. Speaking of, we got a call. So last week I talked about my friends who traveled in Europe and their dog ran away and they found it. A stranger found it, and then they were, put in touch with the stranger and they recovered their dog while they're traveling. And I talked about that story. Here's a call about that. Listen to this.
Hi, this is Randolph. I heard your story about your friend who was in England and they lost their dog. And I thought I'd call and say that story made me want to shove a beer bottle in my asshole and break it and slowly bleed to death.
Yeah. Douchebag of the week.
Why does it want to make him do that?
I don't know. What's wrong with that story?
Maybe he watched a little bit too much that, that goat...
Goatee.
Goatee, yeah, that, oh shit. Yeah.
Goat sex. Anyway, what an
It's
idiot.
the kind of guy who sees those videos where there's like
Lemon
a cat,
Party in the 90s.
or like there's a cat on top of a dog's head, and he just keeps on scrolling.
All right, I think we kind of went downhill in the last few minutes.
So yeah, the guy called in. I guess it really upset him that I told this delightful story of my friends who recovered their dog while they're traveling. Oh, sorry.
Some people hate whimsy.
Sorry. Here's another voicemail from our old friend Mike Gams, friend and fan of the show. Listen to this.
Hey, Maddox. It's me, Mike Gams again. Thanks for playing my voicemail last week, but I couldn't help but notice that you led into it by saying, speaking of boners, Mike Gams called into the show. There's a lot of ways I could take that. I'm not sure if you're saying that my presence induces boners, or that I remind you of a boner, or that I'm a boner. But the way I'm going to take it is that, I'm like a boner, which is that I pop up unexpectedly sometimes, and a lot of times I'm a lot of fun, but a lot of times it's really awkward to have me around, like if you're at work or something. Anyways, another good episode. Ron Babcock, doing good. I like your little newscaster Taylor guy, little ruckus-sized guy. He's fun. Anyways, keep up the good work, and bye.
Yeah, call from Mike Gams, and I was calling him a boner.
Yeah, I think that is a compliment.
To be called a boner?
Yeah, and boners are... hey, listen. I like boners. I like my boner. I don't like...
You like boners? So if,
I like my boner.
If
your boners,
a
I'm
bunch
sure,
of guys, you prefer if they have a boner?
He goes to bone
likes
con.
boners.
I just think boners are powerful. They are the cause. They help with reproduction.
They do.
You know?
As a Mike myself, I want to just say to Mr. Gams that he didn't call you a flaccid penis, or he didn't hear flaccid and then jump at Mike Gams.
A regular, yeah.
This is the strongest that penis could be.
Just a
at
nice
its best,
boner.
Hercules.
You're basically calling someone, hey, a boner. You're basically saying, hey, you're full of blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're engorged with blood right now. That's a good thing.
People say about you when you're healthy, you have good circulation. And what else has good circulation? Boners.
Sure.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Doctors agree.
Well, speaking of boners, here's another call. It has nothing to do with boners. This guy was talking about Facebook and whether or not you should delete it. Here's what he says.
I got a Facebook story for you, fuckface. So years ago, like when I was 14, I bought this really rare, well, not super rare or anything, but just an off guitar. I really liked it, but then I fell in some hard times, man. Sold the guitar, and then the dude who found the guitar contacted me on Facebook and said, hey, have you ever owned this black Guild S300? And I was like, oh my God, yeah, I love that guitar. I'll pay whatever you want to get it back. And he's like, yeah, sure, where do you live? And I told him where I lived, and I never heard from that motherfucker again. So Taylor, if you're out there and you have my guitar, get it back!
Yeah, there you go. So I guess not all Facebook stories are successful when you're trying to get something back. Anyway, angry. We got one more. This is this is a call. I talked about the Pope last time, right? I said I liked the current Pope. All right, I said that.
Yeah,
I made a statement. Here's a call. Has an issue with that.
All right, Maddox, I just listened to the last podcast, and you're talking about how you love this Pope, and he's so great. Dude, he's still terrible. He says all this nice stuff, and then turns around and still doesn't let, gay priests exist, and then dismisses all these things against the church. And basically, he's just kind of the nice PR guy while the church keeps doing the same dumb shit it's always done. You need to be a little bit more critical when it comes to this kind of thing. Otherwise, fuck whales. Don't delete your Facebook.
Yeah, fuck whales to you too, but this so the argument is
you should be more critical of religion. You haven't been enough critical.
Well, the argument is against this Pope is like, oh, he didn't fix every problem.
The Pope is making massive changes.
Yeah, this is the most progressive Pope they've had in centuries.
Do these people have any idea what it takes to move, let's say, an organization with just 50 people? It's like a fucking immovable object.
Yeah.
You have an organization with 1.2 billion people. Making any changes is going to be a little difficult because of inertia.
Yeah, hell, you're in a car with your friends trying to decide where to go eat or what movie to see. You can't even convince your friends to do anything, and you're criticizing the Pope because he didn't do enough? The most progressive Pope where he's made an official statement about abortion, about homosexuality, about,
that you can't judge homosexuals. Who am I to judge, even though I'm supposedly the representative of fucking God?
Yeah, about going to hell. This is the most progressive Pope, and he's like, oh, I still didn't fix all the problems.
You were trying to get pizza at your workplace, decide what toppings to get?
Yeah.
That's like 20 minutes right
there's
there,
actually an
and no one's
algorithm,
happy.
a very simple algorithm to solve any of these issues for any of you who have friends and you have to make decisions quickly. It's called plurality voting. So essentially, it works like this. You say, who is okay with this? And you can vote as many times as you want. So that's the whole issue. Because people are like, oh, I'm going to vote twice. I'm going to cheat the system. No, it's in the algorithm. It says, who wants pizza? This. You count who wants vegan. Count. The majority wins. The people who have raised their hand the most amount of times, that's the one who wins. That's called majority vote. Plurality voting is the easiest, quickest, and most democratic system for making any decision.
Who's okay with tacos? Okay, who's
and
okay
you can
with...
vote multiple times. That's the point. Because usually people say, no, I can only vote once, and then somebody cheats. And the point is, you do cheat. You just say, I'm okay with this. So maybe
it's the greatest common denominator of options.
It's like
right.
you it's not necessarily you want tacos, but it's okay.
Are
But
you
if
the
you're
kind of person who decides everything by numbers?
not necessarily everything, but like, come on.
Well, guys, I got one last voicemail. This is a caller. I talked about, the breeds of dogs. I misspoke and I said brands, I guess.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Breed. B-R-E-E-D. Breed. Breed.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, we get it. We get it.
Yeah.
But none of you guys understand it.
Yeah.
Breed.
You know what I was trying to say, moron? And by the way, I think brand is more appropriate because these dogs are bred to be a specific brand of dog that they sell to people. You want a dog, you just go out and get a fucking mutt. Normal dogs are mutts. But then if you get a specific kind, like a Labrador, a purebred Labrador, that's a brand.
Yeah, it's like Jaguar and Tesla and Maserati. You get the thing, but
it's a brand. What?
Except you don't change your oil on them.
You don't change. Of course, you don't change your oil on your dog. You probably should.
I do on my dog.
Do you?
Yeah.
I used to.
Anyway, that's it for the voicemail. We should get on to the quick news headlines with our junior journalist, Taylor Nicolai. Taylor, what do you got for us?
When Kelly Rowlett received the results from a DNA sample she had sent to Ancestry.com, she assumed there had been a mistake. Rowlett was not aware that more than 36 years ago, her parents had struggled to conceive. Their doctor recommended the mother undergo a procedure in which she would be inseminated with sperm from an anonymous donor who matched the couple's specifications. Her parents requested specifications like someone who was in college, taller than 6 feet, with brown hair and blue eyes. Their doctor told them he had found a donor matching their description. The doctor used his own sperm.
Oh, man.
And even delivered the baby.
So the doctor
Holy
just...
shit.
That's creepy.
Well, were the specifications correct?
He was not in college. He went to college.
He went to college. Was he more than 6 foot tall?
Do you think that
did he have blue eyes? I mean, I still wouldn't do it, but like, he didn't lie technically if the specifications were
Do
correct.
you think he produced the sperm, or if he's just like, I got just the thing, and then he opened up his desk drawer and he took out a sample?
The only thing I think unethical here, because it does sound like, Federico, you're pointing out that he did deliver what they were requesting.
No, I'm not saying he did. I was just asking if the specifications were
probably
right.
did.
I'm
That's probably why he
assuming
did
no
it.
because
Yeah.
there's a lawsuit against him.
Okay, but the lawsuit, I think here's probably why. Here's the unethical thing, right? The doctor makes money by delivering babies and by delivering what they want. So he may have done this as a financial advantage for himself, right? So he may have just like said, I got this, and then I'll deliver your baby
Yeah,
as
I don't
well.
think that you get paid shit for
But
that.
how can she bring a lawsuit against him when she would not even exist without him?
I think it's the mother, not the person, not the baby.
The mother, the families.
Okay,
Yeah.
well then I missed that.
Yeah, well, there you go. Anyway, interesting story. Anything
No,
else?
but it's unethical, I think, because of
Still wrong, yeah.
other laws. Like it's a conflict of interest.
A new survey has found that a third of young millennials in the United States aren't convinced the Earth is actually round.
Oh my
Jesus.
God.
How many?
A third of young millennials aren't absolutely
In the U.S.
A national poll.
Wait. In the U.S.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
A national poll
Don't throw
reveals.
that Italian shade.
No, seriously, Lera. How many people in Europe believe that shit? I think there is maybe like 10,000 in the entire fucking
Hold
continent.
on, you guys invented the flat Earth theory, okay, shithead? We're not gonna take that shit from you. You guys invented
Yeah,
it.
1,000 years ago, and we knew 3,000 years ago that it was round.
Oh yeah,
Eratosthenes
what
knew
did you
this.
guys do with Galileo? Yeah, that's what I thought.
That was about the heliocentric version, not that it was round or flat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you want to talk about European? All right. Anyway, what do you got, Taylor?
YouGov, a British market research firm, polled 8,000 adults in the United States to find out if they ever believed in the flat Earth movement. Only 66% of young millennials answered that they have always believed the Earth is round.
Wow.
9% of young adults answered they have always believed the planet is flat.
Yeah, but it's not about belief, is it? Because you have proof. You can. Well,
Yeah, but
first
how
of all,
do you explain that to someone who doesn't, where proof isn't enough?
No, I understand.
Or
And-
doesn't even understand the proof. Like, here's
It's
the
all
thing.
based on the stars, really, right?
No, but it's you can do it with some simple calculations. So, for example, if the Earth was flat, you could see Burj Khalifa from here in a very, very kind of at night, right? At night, if everything here is switched off and there are lights over there, you could see the fucking Burj Khalifa.
Well, there's a very simple test. Is you just look at a boat as it's going past the horizon, and it slowly, the height shortens and it kind of disappears. That's a very simple test. People kind of sussed that out long time ago. You don't need any fancy mathematics or compasses
but you see,
or
according
sextants.
to them, you kind of fall down a cliff of nothingness.
Of course.
So, I mean,
then they come back. But they come back. So then what?
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know.
Who's that presidential candidate who was the heart surgeon?
Ben Carson.
What's that? Ben Carson. That's right. Ben Carson. He's a brilliant heart surgeon, and the top of his field, top of his industry, just really smart guy, but really, really dumb in terms of world history, geopolitics, regular politics, just everything else. And it's insane how somebody so smart in their field could be so dumb in everything else or most other things.
Because when, instead of reading books about world history, he was learning about aortas.
I mean, that's kind of a logical fallacy, right? So it's someone who's really good at, let's say, a neurosurgeon.
Yeah.
He might be a terrible driver. Now, becoming a good driver is not difficult. Becoming an excellent driver is difficult.
But that's a skill. That's not education. To get to the top of your field, you have to have a good, solid bedrock of education, and you would assume that someone who's there has that bedrock of education.
Not necessarily, because if you're very
Maddox
specialized...
is the best at everything.
That's right.
So
what?
Maddox is the best at everything.
Yeah, exactly. So that covers everything.
Taylor, the greatest and the best. Don't fuck that up again. Any other stories, Taylor?
I just wanted to end on a lighter note.
Yeah.
Japanese whaling vessels returned to port on Saturday after catching more than 300 mammals in the Antarctic Ocean. The fleet caught 333 minke whales without any interruption by anti-whaling campaigners, the fisheries agency said in a statement. Japan is a signatory to the International Whaling Commission moratorium on hunting, but exploits a loophole that allows whales to be killed for scientific research. Tokyo says the slaughter is necessary for in-depth knowledge of whale behavior and biology, but actually they're just eating them.
Yeah, and then accidentally gets its way into the market.
They're eating the specimens, guys. Yeah, they have to slaughter hundreds of whales for science, see what happens. Got to see what happens every year.
Let's see how this one tastes. Let's see how this one tastes.
It's a scientific experiment in taste and flavor. They got to go to Flavor Town. Yeah. Here in Federico, here in the United States, we have a great chef. His name is Guy Fieri, and he likes to take us to Flavor Town, and he takes us to diners, dive-ins, and drives. And he likes to try their chili dogs and their their hamburgers, and and sometimes they're off the hook. And
I mean, some of it is tradition and some of it is status symbol, like shark fins, for example. It's almost exclusively a Chinese phenomenon, and it's completely status symbol because the taste, I've been told, is nothing particular. It's actually kind of this jelly shit.
I used to live in Flavor Town,
but it costs like $250 a piece, and if you get it, it's like to signify it's virtue signaling. You're signaling to the others, I'm so important, I'm so rich that I can spend $250 on something that absolutely is disgusting as taste and is unethical, but I can afford it.
It's status signaling. I think that's what it is.
Signaling.
Yeah, and I've known people who've tried it before, and they say, it doesn't taste like anything.
There's a lot of people with diabetes in Flavor Town, and I feel like they're status signaling that
they have diabetes.
Yeah, they all have diabetes.
I mean, this problem is particularly pronounced in the U.S. because it has a culture of kind of treating food as a bit like something that you need to get over with. Like, I don't see a lot of people here taking 1.5 hour breaks for lunch, or even lunch being respected as a company culture, for example.
Did you not hear about the Flavor Town we were talking about earlier?
It's literally on the map.
Yeah,
it's like an escape pod. Like, your life sucks, you're so depressed. Okay, stuff food on your throat.
You don't want to go to Flavor Town because the trolley system is really bad, and you just never know where those things are going to fucking go.
Yeah.
So, or what they'll hit.
And mostly fat guys.
Mostly fat people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll stop the trolley. So... point US.
Let's stop all the trolleys.
Well, Federico, it's been a pleasure having you on. Where can people find you?
So they can find me on Facebook or on Twitter.
Facebook, Twitter.
Mostly. Yeah, Federico Pistono. Or they can go to fede.online, fede.online.
And check out his books. I'm blown away by your website. You've done, I think it said over 42 keynotes, right? Or you did over 60 keynotes.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's probably more than 100 in like 40 countries.
Yeah, you're going everywhere, doing talks everywhere, and you're working on the blockchain. for the Hyperloop.
Hyperloop transportation
The
technology.
Hyperloop it absolutely this is just amazing technology that's
What's
coming.
the word?
Blockchain.
Blockchain.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
How many Bitcoin do you have?
Oh, a magician never reveals his secrets.
Mm-hmm. Nice try, Taylor.
Did you invent Bitcoin?
Yeah, I am Satoshi. Yeah.
Were you-
We got him.
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, Federico, thank you again for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you to the Deputy Cadet Moderator, Ron Babcock.
My head hurts. Thank you.
Thank you to the Sultan of Swag, Mikey Bolts.
Hey.
Thank you to the Junior Journalist, Taylor Nikolai.
Thank you, Maddox.
But most of all, you're welcome.
Maddox, I'm watching you defend your choice of food by saying that it came with cottage cheese and a fruit cup. Probably two of the worst breakfast items you can get at any restaurant.
Bullshit.
Hey, that's terrible. You're not even defending your main entree. You're saying, oh, it came with some fucking lumpy ass, disgusting, flavorless mush and a fruit cup, which probably came out of a can.
Yeah, it wasn't out of a can. I made that clear in the episode. Federico, you have to believe me. It was 4 different types of fruit. It was not a shitty choice. My entree was delicious. I said it was a Fiesta Scramble. I said it had chicken in it.
Hey there. Don't forget to subscribe to Madcast shows on iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app. Okay, bye. Madcast Media Network.